Aside from just your sheer desire, passion, and then your ability to grow as an entrepreneur and CEO, build the right team, create that culture, what else do you think led to your success with Allegiant and then the ultimate exit to national cities?
And I don't think there's anything wrong with being more aware, being more inclusive. As soon as I bought my first bank in St. Louis, I had women and minorities on the board day one.
I bet it's not often that you come across people that have heard of Thayer, Missouri, being such a small town. I'd never heard of it until you, expanded on exactly where it is. So I'm sure being from Thayer and being an outsider in St. Louis is kind of what gave you some of the flair you have. I think, you're very confident and very well spoken. And again, I'm sure that really tied into or helped you grow Allegiant. Aside from just your sheer desire, passion, and then your ability to grow as an entrepreneur and CEO, build the right team, create that culture, what else do you think led to your success with Allegiant and then the ultimate exit to national cities?
Their timing's everything. And when I was out raising money, there's a company in town, a large company, that I went in and the guy said, I asked him for money. I didn't know him. I knew the company, but a man who invested, who I mentioned in the book, sent me to a lot of his friends. And he said, John, he goes, what is a bright, hardworking man like you doing in the banking business? It's in a long-term cyclical decline. And he was right. The beautiful thing about it was being in an industry that's in decline, there's a lot of opportunity. And we seized that opportunity. And literally about a dozen years ago, I said, the opportunity's over in banking. And it is. The exit was pretty simple. 15 years of holding a group together is very, very hard. The beautiful thing I had is my investors the people that had big investments like myself, they didn't need the money, because you had a lot of phases where people self that, but it's more of people just are ready to move on. And 15 years in business is a lifetime. And we had all those years of quarter over quarter increase. I mean, we were Wall Street darling because every quarter we were up double digits. And you can only do that. And what really hit me was we reached a point where most companies would have just become large, boring banks. And I said, no, it's time to sell, because we couldn't grow those double digits for into the foreseeable future, because you can't. There's a time where the law of large numbers, they work for you on the way up and they can work against you once you get up there. And most companies, and I bought so many banks along the way and so many deals, and it was always about the other guy, and they were men in those days, what they got up, because they had very small stock holdings. So it's how much money could you get to them? And I was never like that. When it was the right time, and I told the board it was the right time, I went out and I said, they came to me and I said, I have a contract. I'll get whatever I get. I said, I'm the third largest shareholder. I get mine with the shareholder. I'm aligned with the shareholder. And I think that's so important in business, that managers, and even in small companies, I'm not saying give everybody stock. You can give them rights, you can give them incentive plans that tie to that, but you have to have your interests aligned. And I learned that National City was a Fortune 200, and the one thing they had right was compensation. They aligned everyone's compensation to get the right goal. And I think that's what most companies don't. And I'm very negative on public companies because they're generally enriched to management. It's like an ESOP. I've dealt with so many ESOP companies, and once they pay their debt off, they're just on perpetuating the business. They don't really care if they make money. They want to perpetuate their position. And that's not capitalism. It's surely not entrepreneurship. And I believe you go out there every day, and we started off this conversation before the mics were on with effort. And I believe everybody has talent. Everybody puts out effort. And I have two nephews, both are All-American, the golfers. One won the PGA FedEx Cup. He's been Rookie of the Year on the PGA. And I do the tortoise and the hare. The older brother is a much better golfer. And actually at dinner a few months ago, a friend of mine asked him a question. And he said, if you look at 4 days of golf, Raj, I can beat Brant Thursday and Friday, but I can't do it Saturday and Sunday. It's dedication. It's resilience. And that's what makes companies successful. There's all kinds of talent. There's all kinds of effort. But at the end of the day, it's about results. And as I said, I'm a little old-fashioned, and I'm certainly old, another year older today. But the point is, we give trophies to people for showing up. we got to give trophy to the people who win the race. And that's what matters. And it's not rude or it's not demeaning. I've lost far more times than I've won. We all have, but you have to look for that in people.
Did you see that shift in the business world as you were going through your entrepreneurial journey? Like, did you start off in maybe a more cutthroat environment, and then as new generations entered the workforce, did you have to think more about, I guess, feelings and things like that? And that's probably not the right way to put it, but I'm sure you.
Yes. And the world is changing. I don't think, and I told my son, he turned 36 last week. I said, Stephen, I said several years ago, I said, it's not my world anymore. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being more aware, being more inclusive. As soon as I bought my first bank in St. Louis, I had women and minorities on the board day one, and we got rid of a racist day one. There's no place for things like that. But you have to have an edge, and it scares me that the edge keeps going away. And I look at very large companies and governments, and they have two things in common for their employees. You really don't have to do a lot right, but God forbid, don't do one thing wrong. And I can look at you and know you've done a lot of things wrong. But what people don't realize is you can get in the Hall of Fame in baseball for being right 3 out of 10 times at the plate. And so you've got to make a lot of bad decisions. You got to make a lot of mistakes. But if you do that day in and day out, they outweigh themselves. What you can't have is a culture or a country that can't make a decision. And I always said, people would say, what's your best trait? And now then people say it's resilience and things like that. But I always said is I can make a decision. And I also know when it's wrong, I can change my own decision. I won't go to the bottom of the ocean. Once I'm down a few feet, I'm going to figure out this is not good. Let's go to plan B. And I've always said my plan A never worked. I was usually on X, Y, or Z. But no, that's the thing that scares me in a lot of businesses and in society is you just have to remember it's about risk and reward and doing the right thing, and you're going to be wrong a lot.